Hey everybody, welcome back to Gideon Stuff. Today I am super excited because we're taking a look at one of the coolest budget knives I've ever handled. And I've handled a lot of budget knives, right? This channel is by and large primarily. We don't do retakes on this channel. It's primarily a budget knife channel. And yeah, so I've looked at a lot of stuff. This knife has stood out to me as just fantastic. This is a Divo Knives Growler, of course. You've all seen this knife. Hopefully a lot of you have one of these knives. I think the first run, I checked the other day, I think there was a couple left, but yeah, they are by and large gone already. However, I bet there will be a rerun of these. In fact, I know there will be. I've heard from the mouth of the people themselves that they're working on a version 2, which is super exciting. Okay, enough. Let's go ahead and get this review started, right? Let's go ahead and get our blade length measurement here. We're coming in 3 1/4 inches. Yeah, it's a pretty good blade size. This knife feels a little bit bigger than it is. It's got a very, what's the word I'm looking for? It's got a presence. It's got a presence. All right, comparisons. There's the Rat 2. There's the 1. Pretty cool sized knife. As you can see there, in terms of length, not too much longer than the Rat 2, but it is a very broad knife. Let's go ahead and bring out our bug out. Again, about the same size, but the Growler is much broader. And our PM2. Oh, not the PM2 I meant to grab, but you know what? That's actually a pretty attractive pair right there. So there we go. Alrighty, let's go ahead and grab out some Civivis. There's a Praxis, another broad-bladed budget knife. There's the Elementum. So yeah, this knife, it's a medium-sized knife, but I would refer to it as big small, meaning it's a knife that just feels a lot bigger than it is, and that's in a very positive light. Okay, what else do we want to compare it against? Let's compare it against a couple of budget knives I've been carrying recently. CGRB Scoria, which is kind of a budget knife, and the CGRB Pyrite. Oh, this thing is so good. This thing is so good. There we go. Wish I had another Divo knife to compare it against, but alas, I do not. I actually know what I do have here on my keys. Oh, I forgot I had this. There's the Divo Knives bottle opener. I don't drink, but I have this on my keys for some reason. I'm a weirdo, I guess. Alrighty, so what are our specs here? Well, we have a 14C28N blade, which is beautiful. We've got a stonewash on this one. There were multiple versions, and then black micarta scales, which is actually pretty nice micarta. I do like that. Like, we've got black pivot collars, reversible steel clip. It is a steel liner lock. Let's go ahead and get right into the review cutting, shall we? Hey guys, you ready to talk about the Divo Growler? I sure am. So, the Divo Knives Growler. I literally just got this knife, and I've been out here doing some testing. I must say, I'm pretty impressed. So I decided I'd go ahead and do the review cutting footage. So, to start things off, let's talk about those ergonomics. It's a pretty thin knife. I do wish it was contoured, but the ergonomic lines are really great. That's one thing that Divo, I think, really focuses on, is getting their ergonomics down. And one thing I like about this knife over the Stout that I reviewed was that the Stout, really, you could only, like the best grip for the Stout, the only grip that I thought was ever worth using. Do I have a hair on my... Do I have a hair on my chin? Yeah, it's called a beard. With the Stout, the best grip was choked up. You know, with your thumb and a little poon spoon, and you had that little 50/50 choil. If you weren't in the 50/50 choil, the ergonomics kind of fell apart. With the Growler, you can hold it back here, and then they also give you a choil that you could choke up into. And I like that because this works if you want a little more reach, and this works if you want a little more control. So you have a little bit of some options in terms of handling the knife, and I always appreciate that. The other thing I like about the ergonomics too is you can get your finger out here towards that tip, wrap your index finger around the choil there. You can do some stuff there. Very interesting blade. We'll get to that here in just a little bit. How is that action? Very good. My fingers are a little bit cold right now, but I will say this. So thumb flicking works really, really well. We have a very uniquely shaped hole here. The thumb flick is fantastic. The slow roll is amazing, even with gloves, which I had out here while I was testing. Where did I put those? Probably in my truck. Ta-da! So this knife is easy to use with gloves. You can do like that. Really fits the hand really well with gloves. This is kind of a chunkier knife than the Stout was. Kind of more of a what's the word I'm looking for? Medium use knife. Like it's not a... Although I'd also classify the Stout as kind of a medium use knife where you could kind of... It's a great EDC, but it can do some harder tasks. This is kind of a... it's not a dainty EDC knife. It's not a big overbuilt knife, but it really kind of rides the line between the two. Anyways, that's not important. We're still talking about the action, right? So the hole, it's very interestingly shaped. Again, you could slow roll it very easily. It works with gloves, if you're doing the thumb flick and stuff like that. The reverse flick took me a little bit of getting used to. Now, the detail on this one is a little bit lighter than I would prefer, which is ironic coming from Divo knives, but the other thing I found is that if I hit it right, it works very well. If I get it in the right spot, it works with no problems. And so that's kind of a problem with the shape of the hole. Now, it's nothing like deal-breaking, again, because I can get it even with cold fingers. But, and this also might just be a problem for me. Look at my hand. I have a regular man-sized palm, and I have these short but skinny little lady fingers. And so, sometimes I will slip a digit in the hole. And so, if I go to flick it, like, sometimes I'll just get my whole finger in there, and it's like, it's trying to eat me. And so what works best is if I get down here just in the corner, like in the bottom corner of the hole, and do like that. So the action, I think, is perfectly serviceable. I might fidget with it, take it apart, do some adjusting, see if I can make the detent a little bit stronger, but the action is fine. Action is perfectly fine, especially with the thumb flick. The close is really nice, actually. Really, really nice, but yeah. Well, guys, I'm back at school. So, the first review I think I'm going to be filming while I'm back is the Divo Knives Growler. Love this knife. Been carrying it a lot, really wanted to speed run this review. I believe, because I did a lot of the review cutting. I did the review cutting and I did some initial testing when I first got this knife, like the first day. And I said that the action was a little bit unsatisfactory with the reverse flick. Well, it's really not. It was just me being an idiot. If you go up to the very top of the hole, you can get it pretty well. Thumb flick, I still think is better, but the reverse flick, you can absolutely do. Yep. No problem. I'm just being an idiot. Go to the top of the hole. Jeez. Go to the top of the hole. Not the bottom like I said at first. Although it does work pretty good off the bottom if you get it just right. Yeah. Could the detent be a little bit stronger? Yeah, maybe, you know. But I don't think it's really that much of a negative. It's a good looking knife. Okay, how does it carry? Well, we have this clip here that is reversible with a filler tab, which I love. More companies should do this. Thank you, Divo Knives. The clip itself is kind of a plain clip, but it looks really good. My one problem with it, I may not be able to see it here, is there's a little bit of a burr right there by where the screws are. Can you see that? Like right there. And I will take this clip off and I'll file that off, and so it probably won't be an issue. The knife itself is nice and thin, lightweight, especially for a knife that's, this wide. See if you can see that. There we go. But yeah, it goes in all the way, comes out, goes in. I can get my hand in there and move around. So yeah, not bad. I would say that's actually pretty dang good. Okay, let's go ahead and do some cutting. 14C 28N on this blade that is very interesting. To me, it's almost like a clip point cleaver ulu. We've basically got all belly. It's a very, very cool blade shape. Super slicey. Let's see if it works on the utility cuts. Let's tilt down just a little bit more. So yeah, for a big bellied knife, we didn't get through the tape. For such a big bellied knife, it is surprisingly great at utility cuts, which I would expect coming from Divo Knives. Kevin over there, he's crazy about his utility cuts. All right, let's grab us some more of the old rope. Very nice, very, very nice. Pretty much a full flat grind on this guy. I think it's going to do really good on the push test. Let's find out. Okay. Oh, man. That is fantastic. That might be... This knife might have done this test better than any other we've ever reviewed. Wow, that blade shape. I mean, and the way I do that test is I just do one push. I don't like try and push hard. I just do what I would consider normal force. That was amazing. That was amazing. I really, really liked that. All right, let's get our pool noodle out here. All right, what's going on there? Okay. Had a couple of hang-ups there. Ugh. Not sure why that happened. Yeah, look at that. On this one, actually, what happened was I got out off the edge and I hit the choil, so that's never good, but yeah, that was a little bit weird. I expected to do a lot better than that. But, that might just be some wavy sharpening. Yeah, I can tell the bevel on this side is quite a bit bigger than on this side, but I can fix that with my own sharpening, so it's not going to be a big deal. Hey guys, I want to comment real quick on the pool noodle test. Yeah, this knife was not sharpened very well at all. put that in the negatives. The edges were really wonky. I didn't measure exactly, but like this side was like a Civivi pencil thin edge, and then the other side was pretty wide. So I have actually resharpened it. Focus up, camera. Come on, camera. So yeah, I resharpened it. Took a beautiful edge. It's got lots of scratches already from use. But after the sharpening, it performed like an absolute champ. And yeah, that's why we do those tests, you know. A lot of the tests are to, you know, test the blade shape. Some of them are to test the edge stability. The pool noodle test is really to test the sharpening from the factory and the grind. And so yeah, that's why we do that. There we go. I gotta say, I wish this was a fixed blade. A little bit bigger, contoured scales. I wish it was a fixed blade because I think this would be one hell of an outdoors knife. I really do. And I'm gonna let Kevin know that. And yeah, it's a great design here. Really interesting blade, but let's go talk about it more at the table. Okay, so I've been doing some more testing with the Growler. I love this knife. I love this blade shape. This is fantastic. So Kevin and Colin, the designers, they call this blade shape a bellies clip, which is very fitting. That's a great name. I would absolutely love to see this as a slightly larger fixed blade. Well, maybe a fixed blade with a 4.5 to 5 inch blade. I mean, this is just, I love this blade shape. It kind of reminds me of a mix between a Nessmuck and an Ulu and a cleaver. It's just really, really great for all kinds of stuff. I would absolutely love to see it as a fixed blade. I love the folder. Don't get me wrong. Actually, I think I prefer this over the Stout. But, man, a fixed blade. That would be something absolutely fantastic. Absolutely fan-flippin-tastic. Alrighty. We're back. I could not wait to review this knife. When I first got it, I was actually going out to do some review cutting for other knives I was reviewing at the time. I picked this up from the post office, and I decided to do the review cutting for this guy right out of the box. Which I don't always do, but you know, every once in a while it happens. So I decided to film a review cutting. And I was like, you know what, that was really cool. So I decided to do some more testing. I was out in the woods. I was testing, you know, it on wood, whittling, you know, making feather sticks and stuff, tested on a lot of rope. And I was very, very impressed. And so I decided I wanted to get this review done pretty quickly with my scheduling stuff. This review wouldn't have come out till like February, but I've decided to bump it up a little bit. Yeah, this is an excellent knife. I'm not sure where to start. Let's start about, geez. I will try not to stutter and flumber my way through the rest of this video, but I am pretty excited, and I also don't think flumber is a word. It should be flumber. Flumber. It's a good word. Anyways, moving on to the knife. This is a fantastic design. When I first saw this knife, I was kind of surprised that it was a Divo knife, because even though it has a lot of very Divo aesthetics, like this blade hole and the handle shape a little bit, the blade really took me by surprise because it's all belly. And, you know, pretty much everything else that Divo Knives makes is some variation of a sheep's foot. And I guess you might consider this a sheep's foot blade, but while I was testing it, I got so excited about how this blade was performing that I texted Kevin, and I was like, hey, what do you guys call this blade shape? And he told me it's a bellies clip. And that is an absolutely fantastic name for this knife. And I told Kevin too, I said that this would make a fantastic fixed blade. And I stand by that. Get about a 4-inch blade here, you know, blow up all the proportions accordingly, contoured my car to scales. He would have one heck of an outdoors knife. So let's get into why I love this blade so much. First of all, 14C 28N, great steel, fantastic steel. Everyone loves 14C, right? I don't think I've met anyone who doesn't. It sharpens up beautifully. It holds a good edge for budget steel. Very stainless, very tough. It is my preferred budget steel, one of my preferred budget steels. And especially on a blade like this that you can maybe push to some more extreme tasks. Maybe not extreme, but you know, you could push it through some heavy duty stuff. 14C is a great choice. The blade itself, it's big and it's broad, and it's got a lot of really interesting features. As I already said earlier in one of the clips, it reminds me of like a Cleaver Ulu Skinner. It's a very cool blade shape. So, number one thing, I like that we've got this 50/50 choil here. We'll get into that more with the ergonomics, but all belly. This makes this knife fantastic at crunching down on stuff, makes it great for food prep stuff, makes it great for skinning. Honestly, this would be a fantastic skinning knife. The way that the point is clipped down here, great for drilling. You can get to your tip for all kinds of stuff like that. You can choke up on the blade and do some more delicate work. Yeah, I think this knife would be fantastic as a fixed blade. It's a great EDC knife, but I think it'd be great as a fixed blade. Heck, even just if it was this same size, it'd be a great EDC fixed blade. But if it was a little bit bigger, you could really push this into some interesting outdoor roles, whether it's a hunting knife. I think this would be a great hunting knife, as mentioned earlier, with the skinning capabilities, or as like a camp knife. Again, I think it'd be great for food prep. You know, you have the handle, the edge is lower than the handle here. So if this knife is a little bit bigger, I mean, you can do it with this one. You know, you can get some rocking cuts down. But if the knife is a little bit bigger, you know, you could keep your knuckles clear completely. Just a very, very useful blade. And in terms of EDC, I found that it was absolutely fine for everything I need to do, right? I can get to that tip, opening packages and stuff. I was using this on the ranch over winter break, and I found that it was good for cutting through cords and feed sacks and stuff. Maybe not the best cord cutter, because, you know, there is a lot of belly, you can slip out, but if you know what you're doing and you just hook it here and then push like that, it gets through it just fine. Just really, really useful. And it's a very, again, like I said, it's a very surprising blade shape from Divo knives, but I really like it. I like it a lot. Now, I'm not sure if I took any testing footage other than the review cutting. If I did, I'll include it in the video. I can't remember taking any testing footage. I don't normally record testing footage, and sometimes I get so excited I forget, but if so, I'll put that in there. Bottom line is it's a really solid blade. Really solid knife. And the blade itself would not be as good without the ergonomics to match. So this is a fairly thin knife. I do wish it was contoured. We'll get into that later. But the ergonomics are great. The ergos are great. Again, I love this choil here. Very, very cool. The liners are inset into the scales, which is something I always appreciate. But yeah, you can feel like you get a really solid grip on this, because even though it's not a very thick knife, it's pretty broad. So it fills out your hand really well in the way that you'd want a knife that, you know, you might be using a little bit harder for. So very, very good. Love the way it kind of arcs back like this. Love the way they've done the kind of chamfering in here, especially this area. Yeah, it just feels really good. The clip does not bother me in the hand at all. This is a very simple clip. We'll talk about the clip more later. Yeah, you know, it disappears in my hand. I think that's fantastic. Works really, really great. Okay, reversible clip. Love that. You know, lefty EDC, Kevin, he's looking out for the lefties, and so he included a left-handed clip, and they put a filler tab in. This, for me, is fantastic. I love filler tabs. I I think most knives that have reversible clips should have a filler tab because it looks classy. I don't mind the look of, you know, just like on this scoria, you know, we've got like just the empty spot for the pocket clip on the left-hand side. I don't mind that necessarily, but if I was going to choose, I'd choose a filler tab all day, every day. It just looks a lot better. The clip itself works pretty well. I don't have a whole lot of issues with, well, with the carry of this clip. We'll talk about it in a little bit. Flat screws, it's inset. That's exactly what we want to see. Divo Knives knows what people want, and it's giving it to us. So I really, really appreciate that a whole lot. Next thing, T8 hardware all the way around. Again, Divo Knives knows what the people want, and they're giving it to us. So that's really cool. And the hardware is pretty minimal on this. I do like that. I do like that. Next thing, I love the Divo Knives pivot. I think it looks classy, but it looks even better with this pivot collar. This black pivot collar is really cool. Usually I have this thing where I don't like my pivot collar to be the same color as my scales, because at that point I'm like, well, you know, what's the point of having a pivot collar? But this black, I mean, black micarta is kind of a gray, and so this pivot collar differs enough that it just looks great. I love pivot collars. You guys have heard me say it on the channel many times. I think pivot collars are just the bee's knees. They're really, really cool. They add a lot of class and elegance to a budget knife. You know, it's an easy way to add elegance. Love the stonewash on this blade. I could not decide between the stonewash and blackwash versions. If I get another one of these knives, which I might, if they do another blackwash run, I'd probably get that. But this stonewash, I love a good stonewash, and this is a really good stonewash. Pretty nice. I do enjoy it. Access to the lock bar, perfect. They give you a little bit of a cutout. They chamfer the liner. You can get to it just fine. The action is good. I do think the detent could be a little bit stronger, but the thumb flick is so perfect that I'm not sure I would want it stronger, because right now as it is, whoops, this thumb flick is exactly where I'd want it. Very, very nice. The reverse flick I do have a little bit more trouble with. You know, go up to the top of the hole and you'll get it every time. But I do think the hole is shaped better for a thumb flick. And while I was carrying this, I was primarily just thumb flicking it. If I'm going to fidget, I'll, you know, reverse flick it. But, you know, for just using it, I thumb flick it. It also has a super satisfying slow roll. Super satisfying. I mean, this is very nice. Smooth and controlled. And it does exactly what you want a slow roll to do. When you slow roll a knife, you know, you want to start out, and as you open it, you want your thumb to just gently glide off the blade as it naturally moves into position. You know, you don't want to have to be, you know, doing it in a couple of different steps. You don't want to have to be adjusting your thumb as you go. You just want to have it out. Oh, man. And I also like doing kind of a combined slow roll flick, where you like come out to there and then like kick the blade off and let it go the rest of the way. Let's see if I can do it. I say as I did it just a second ago, kind of like that. But great action. Yeah, pretty cool. All right, let's go ahead and get into some of my complaints and nitpicks. Number one, the clip is good, but when I first got it, it had some like metal, I don't know, burrs. Focus here, camera. It had some metal burrs right there that made getting the knife in and out of the pocket a little bit difficult. So I decided I'd sand those down. So I took the clip off and I sanded those down, and then I realized that the clip was like bent a little more than I would like it to. So I was like, okay, I'm going to bend it out a little bit. And I've done this hundreds of times. I fixed clips with no problem. You put them in a little bit of warm water, and then you just give them a little bit of a bend. And I did that with this clip, and I ended up snapping it in half. Well, not in half, but in two. And let me show you guys how that turned out. You might be thinking, well, how are you still using the, the clip? Well, because that's where it broke. So I can still hold it in with the screw. I'll probably end up getting an aftermarket clip for this. But yeah, you can see the marks where I had sandpaper in there sanding down the burrs. And then this was, the clip was bent pretty extremely. You know, once I got the screw tension off, the first time I took the clip off, this part of the clip like bent up till it was like almost touching. And I was like, okay, well, you know, it was a little bit over tightened from the factory. That's okay. Put it in some boiling water, soften it up a little bit. Went to bend it out, and yeah, it just snap. So that's, I mean, I wouldn't say that's great, but I don't think it's that big of an issue, really, you know, because, I don't know, it's a pocket clip. They're pretty easy to replace. It is thin steel, you know. A billion different things could have happened that caused what happened. But, you know, it did happen, so I'm going to mention it. Let's get this screw back in here. There we go. Good as new. And yeah, the clip does still work. Got a little more wiggle than we would have otherwise, but yeah, it works. It works. So, I wanted to mention that. Next thing. Yeah, set that over there. The lanyard hole seems a little bit weird to me. I mean, I know people like their lanyards, but I don't know, it just seems a little bit small. It's not in the best place. I think they should have done a pinned lanyard hole. I don't use lanyards on all of my knives, but sometimes I'll put a lanyard on a knife, especially fixed blades. I don't really put lanyards on folders that often, but when I'm holding a knife back here, my pinky lands right on that hole. So if I had a lanyard in there, it'd be bunching up into this part of my hand under the pinky, and I just don't think it'd be all that comfortable. Speaking of the ergonomics, I do wish there was jimping. The spine of the knife is chamfered down really nicely though, so I'm not gonna like knock them on it too hard. But you know, just personal preference, I do like jimping. And it's on a knife like this that I really want to push through some heavier cuts, I think it would be, you know, a little bit advantageous so your thumb's not, you know, slipping off. Next thing, I kind of wish they'd gone with an internal stop pin or an external stop pin. Something that's either the blade travels around or something that's connected to the blade instead of this one. I mean, it works fine, and this is really just a personal preference thing, but, you know, that's just kind of a, yeah, I just kind of wish they did that. Not a big deal, though. Another thing, I kind of wish these scales were contoured. I think that would have been really, really cool. Again, it doesn't really affect the utility of the knife, and I still like the knife a lot without contoured scales. It's just a, I don't know, I wish type of thing. And last thing, the sharpening choil could have been done, or the plunge grind could have been done better. Like at first you'd think, oh yeah, that's a great plunge sharpening choil. Well, it's really not, because you could see the plunge actually comes down like that. Let's grab something a little bit thinner. The plunge goes like that. Switch hands. You can see how the light reflects differently. There's the plunge. So you start thickening up about here, which I've already sharpened this knife, but that's not a whole lot of sharpening away. It would have been cool if the plunge grind had just dropped straight to like there. Not a big deal, but I thought I would point it out. Alrighty, so final thoughts and conclusions. What do I think? This is a fantastic knife. The design is phenomenal. Divo knives really knocks it out of the park with ergonomics, and they really put a lot of thought into how the handle will work with the blade. Now, I heard that this knife was mostly a design by Colin Mason-Pierre, who's the second half of Divo Knives, along with Kevin Johnson. And Colin, you knocked it out of the park. This is fantastic. I love the way the handle melts into the blade. I love the utility you get here. I love that you can, you get back here for some powerful cuts. You can choke up here for some finer work. It's a really, really good knife. The all belly design, I mean, you've got a little bit of straight here, but pretty much all belly design, I think was kind of a bold move, but it paid off. Big bellied knives aren't always the most useful thing, but this is a fantastic EDC knife. I'm going to say it again. You guys are going to be tired of hearing this. If Kevin's watching, you're going to be tired of hearing this, but this would be a fantastic fixed blade. It really would, and I think you guys should think about, if you ever want to do a fixed blade, the Growler is you already got a great design here, right? If you ever decide to do a fixed blade, you've already got a great body for it right here. Anyways, these knives were White Mountain Knives exclusives. They came in about 85 bucks. I think that's a fantastic price. I heard some people being like, oh, it's too expensive. I've already seen it in my cart, and oh my goodness gracious, they're ripping my face off. I don't think it's a bad price. Especially for, a company that's basically ran by members of the community, heck yeah. Heck yeah. And that kind of brings me to something. It is so crazy how much of an impact collectors and creators in the community have had on the knives in the community. We have so many people releasing their own designs, starting their own companies, and it's amazing. It really is amazing. And, you want to buy these knives to support your friends, to support your favorite creators or whatever. And that's a beautiful thing in and of itself. But when the knife is this damn good, it sweetens the deal so much. I bought this knife primarily. I bought this knife because I want to support Divo knives. I want to support this new company who's trying to, get out there. But after I got the knife, after handling it and using it, I absolutely fell in love, and it made this knife so much better for me because not only is it a design from someone in the community, it's a good design. I think that's really, really important. So that's going to be it for today, guys. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, leave it a like, comment below, and subscribe. I've been Gideon, and I'll see you in the next one. Adios.